Thank you for attending this video conference on Fortitude Ranch Franchising. I'm Colonel Drew Miller. I'm one of the co-founders and the CEO of Fortitude Ranch. And I'm going to bring up our slides now, and we're going to go through a bunch of slides and talk about franchising tonight. So I'm going to start to share my screen and get our slides up here. These are the topics we're going to go through tonight. I'm going to go through these slides fairly quickly. If you want, you can email and I will send you these slides when we're done. And I want to leave plenty of time at the end for questions. So I'm going to go through these fairly quickly and would ask that you, it'd be best if you hold your questions until after the briefing, because odds are I'll cover your question and then we can go through other questions at the end. My qualifications are listed here. For the past decade plus, I've been focused on developing, running, and improving Fortitude Ranch. And my background is kind of surprisingly perfect for this business. I've got lots of military and business experience, great preparedness skill. I've been a log home builder for a long time, and as you'll see, we think that's the best material to build out of. And the franchising model that we've developed passes on this knowledge and makes it a lot easier business to manage, since, as you'll see, we can handle most of your sales and accounting difficulties for our franchise, as well as franchisees, as well as training you and giving you an operations manual and procedures. In good times, as you probably know, Fortitude Ranch is a recreational facility, like a rural country club that our members can visit and stay for free and enjoy hiking and some really great recreational activities that are on site or vacation things to do around us. But when disaster looms, Fortitude Ranch turns into a survival community with professional staff in charge and our membership providing the bulk of the manpower and the guards and the workforce that we need to survive. Our primary mission is saving our members' lives, keeping them alive during a collapse. Over the past decade at locations across the U.S., we've developed many kind of unique designs that are not just far less expensive than other survival methods, but for a variety of reasons covered in this briefing, our design and the use of our members for the bulk of our manpower and guard force in a collapse offers not just the best odds of surviving a collapse, but something that is very affordable even for the middle class. Many survival community businesses are growing in the United States, offering underground shelter and stockpiled food and emergency supplies to survive societal collapse. The 2020 COVID-19 pandemic and the unrest and violence over the past year has changed the public perception of prepping. Millions more now understand and respect the need to have a safe place to go outside of cities and suburbs to survive a breakdown in law and order. Disaster Preparedness LLC, which is doing business as Fortitude Ranch, offers survival facilities in a very different manner than our competition, as you'll see. Our shelter communities are useful now for recreation and peacetime, and in the bad situations, we turn into a survival community. So that's our motto: prepare for the worst, enjoy the present. This is a profitable business for us that accomplishes an important societal good, helping people survive. So this is our mission statement: helping people survive a collapse. Of course, we also want to have a profitable company and a fun, beautiful place for our members to enjoy in good times. But our primary goal is to be prepared to execute our survival mission of keeping our members not just alive, but in good spirits during a collapse. So we are the world's largest survival community system. We've got a list of 5,000 people who want to join Fortitude Ranch as a location near them opens. And this list keeps growing with new contacts since we continue to get great media coverage, and we've got such a great search presence on the internet that when people look for survival community or Google collapse, they find us on the internet and then contact us. So we cannot expand fast enough on our own to meet demand or save even a tiny part of 1% of the population. So we decided to start offering franchise locations to leverage our expertise and our system model, use our operations manual and sales leads and Salesforce billing system to create their own Fortitude Ranch operation. Our parent company, Disaster Preparedness LLC, has been profitable for the past 3 years, with sales and profits growing each year. When there's a surge in demand for our service, we expect our profit margins to be considerably higher. And as more locations opens, There's going to be more vacation opportunities and greater value for our members, so it gets harder for copycat startups to compete with us. This is our previous plan. We were going to expand to 12 US locations that we owned and controlled. We started with West Virginia, then Colorado and Nevada. In the last year plus, we've added Wisconsin and Texas and bought land for Tennessee, which we're now raising funds to build out. And as this map shows, our general plan was to get to 12 locations, which we thought would provide fairly decent coverage of the continental United States. Our current plan now with franchising is we're probably just going to have 7 corporate locations and dozens of franchise locations. We'll be limited by the territory restrictions and franchise agreements, but our goal is to have several dozen Fortitude Ranch locations able to offer all Americans a location within a half-day's drive from their home. This will also increase the vacation, free night stay advantage of Fortitude Ranch, increasing our ability to sell memberships, make a better profit, and making it harder for copycat competitors to compete with us. So I suspect most of you are already very familiar with many of the disasters and trigger events that could lead to a collapse. So I'm not going to go through my threat slides in any detail, but as I'll explain to you later, you may want to recruit some partners to help you fund your Fortitude Ranch business. So you may need to do some presentations on the threats and reasons why there is a big and growing preparedness movement. We're very glad to give you our slide decks to do this with slides like these that I'm going to quickly flip through that highlight the key threats and the general trend, which is a rising probability every year that we will have a collapse, which we define as a non-functioning economy and widespread loss of law and order and huge loss of life from the violence that ensues. Here's the overall bottom line on trends and new technologies and threats. The destructive power of individuals continues to skyrocket, whether it's developing and releasing a deadly virus that kills millions or billions, executing a cyber attack that takes down the electric grid, a nanotechnology disaster, or a new, easier way to enrich uranium for nuclear weapons. It's not just small terrorist groups in tiny nations like Korea, but even individuals now have unprecedented power to cause destruction and damage that could cripple our modern, integrated, complex, and very dependent and fragile economy. Farmers and preppers are resilient, but 98% of Americans are not. And when electricity is lawlessness will break out. Probably the greatest threat I fear is bioengineered viral pandemics. And it's a great example of the threats that are with us now and growing rapidly every day. Your tax dollars were used several years ago to do gain-of-function research on making avian flu, which is 60% lethal, capable of being transmitted between mammals. The effort was successful, and worse, it was published. Experts have warned us that a pandemic orders of magnitude worse than COVID is inevitable. That's the word they use. Our electric system, as you probably well know, is extremely fragile and very vulnerable to many forms of natural or man-made attack. And the grid could go down not for weeks or months, but a year or years. A congressionally funded EMP study warned that we could lose 90% of the US population from an EMP attack. There will be not just no economic production, no food production or distribution, there won't be municipal water systems. So without pumps, you don't have water systems, and tens or hundreds of millions of Americans will die, either from starvation or lack of water, or more likely, most will die from the marauding and killing of bad and desperate people who are unprepared and fighting to do whatever they can to steal and survive. While we track 45 trigger disasters, there's a lot more than the ones I've covered here, and I can't go through the details of them here, but during training, we do take you through all the trigger events that we track and point out the dangers rising, the probability rising of most of these trigger events, largely due to new technologies that are coming out. We also have a probability of collapse model, and again, we train you on this in your franchisee training. And we can't accurately estimate the probability of most trigger events, but overall, we very roughly estimate a probability of collapse of anywhere from 2% to 20% annually. And that's rising, according to the experts we work with, to perhaps a 1 in 3 annual chance of a collapse in the near future. As I said, bad pandemics are inevitable, to quote the experts. Our electric grid remains a huge Achilles heel. Nuclear proliferation is getting worse, and new technologies like artificial intelligence and many others add to the threat to humanity every day. If you attend our franchise training, again, we brief you on these threats and our collapse model, and then we have a long list of things that you need to survive that we boil down into these 11 basic survival requirements you see here. And we use a lot of these in our slides and presentations. It'll come up again as I show you. And it helps us convince people that we have considered everything and we do have everything you need at Fortitude Ranch to keep them alive during a collapse. Again, I won't go through these next slides in detail, but I want to flip through them fairly quickly to give you a better idea of why Fortitude Ranch is designed the way it is, and also how you can pitch our system, your system, if you become a franchisee, to both prospective members and the people who you're trying to recruit to help invest in your company so you can afford to build out a Fortitude Ranch location. We always emphasize how government officials, while they may not bother providing shelter for us or civil defense for us, they have fantastic survival facilities provided at taxpayer expense. In our last Fortitude Ranch newsletter, we reported on the huge construction that's going on now at Mount Weather outside Washington, D.C. And there are many other government survival facilities, including the Raven Rock Mountain Complex in Pennsylvania, a huge underground survival site. Top state government officials, they'll have the state patrol protection in a collapse. Indeed, the #1 top priority of government in a collapse is continuity of government, COG, their code word for keeping government officials alive and government functioning. The result of this priority is that there's going to be more demand on law enforcement and military troops that will be allocated to protect thousands of government officials, and even less support available to protect citizens from marauders. When a collapse occurs, you will be completely on your own. You cannot expect any help from law enforcement. Again, I'm not going to go through any of the details of these following slides. I can send you the slides to look at. And again, we train you on these slides and these key points, and we give you the briefing slides when you come to our franchisees training. But you'll need to convince people while trying to survive in their basement or their own little backyard shelter. Our friends on a rural farm just will not work. When you finish this training, you'll be very well educated and prepared to professionally and effectively brief prospective members and investors in your franchisee's business as to why they need something like Fortitude Ranch and why our design and setup is better than the alternatives. This slide talks about a really important point that we use a lot, and it's very convincing. Most preppers overlook the fact that you can't hide out underground. A lot of people think, hey, I get a shelter, I go in, I lock this heavy duty door, and I'm fine. It doesn't work that way. You have to have air vents or you're going to be killed. You have to be on the surface to defend your shelter or you will not survive. So you need to have a large number of people. We estimate that you need at least 50 people to defend a survival compound. You need a lot of guards on duty, especially at night when the smartest marauder groups are going to come at you. If you've got 2 people on guard duty at night, that means myself and one other marauder can take you out. We just time our shots at 2 or 3 in the morning. We shoot at the same time. Your guards are killed. Someone inside might hear the gunshot, but if they don't hear any more noise because your guards are dead, they go back to sleep, the marauders move in, and you're all slaughtered. So Fortitude Ranch was developed over a decade ago by myself and 2 other survival partners when we rejected the standard approach of just burying a shelter underground and hoping you can ride it out and not get found and killed. We came up with the unique and still by far the best, most cost-effective way to survive against any threat. The vast majority of survival facilities are neither #1, buried silo shelters, and #2, there's just one shelter most of the time. We think that's suicidal in the pandemic situation. You do not want to share air supplies when there's a deadly virus going around. And again, if you cannot quickly get to the surface to defend your air vents, to defend your facility, you will be overrun and killed by a marauder group. So we have spread out buildings. That's Fortitude Ranch, Texas, you're looking at there. And we will put up walls. We have some up now with stones. We'll cut down trees, clear lines of fire, and erect walls. At night, all of our members are inside our compound walls. Our guards are on duty, 6 to 8 of them. And anything moving outside, we will detect it and we will start firing. When any member hears either an alarm sounded by our guard or hears a gunshot, they grab their weapon, they run to their assigned part of the wall, and we're a very difficult target for any marauder group to attack. As I'll explain later, you need about 10 to 1 advantage to go after people behind defensive walls with cleared lines of fire, well-prepared defenses like we've got. Now, we know that eventually people will start copying our model, but we've already got huge competitive advantages in the sales process and some other advantages I'm going to go through as we get to more slides. We're also going to cover layout advice to you to help you design your Fortitude Ranch compound. And in general, what we recommend is shallow underground shelters. We do think you need basements and some underground shelter because of fallout, radiation, low level most likely, from a nuclear bomb going off or a nuclear reactor that does not get shut down correctly and releases radiation. But deep underground shelters are not necessary. They're very expensive. They're very dangerous in a pandemic situation, and the expenses are more than 10 to 1 when you go deep underground. So we believe to defend your facility, you need to have just shallow underground shelters. 3 feet of earth shielding is a great plenty, and for low-level radiation, we will eventually, when it comes down and settles, we'll go out wearing masks under the supervision of people like myself with a nuclear radiation handling background. We'll remove the radiation, cart it off, and then not even have to worry about it. But we do want to have shallow underground facilities for some radiation shielding. Plus, it provides us a cool place to store our food. If you've got a few $1,000,000, you could buy a place in Survival Condo. They provide luxury rooms inside former ICBM silos that offer protection and very good comfort, but only ultra high net worth people can afford them. And they have some serious survival security problems that I've listed here. A lot of rich people think that, hey, I can just go out and hire a bunch of guards to defend my house or my underground shelter in my house in a collapse, and they really haven't thought it through. Even if money retains its value in a collapse situation, the guards may soon decide to prioritize saving their own families over their rich boss, and they may simply take over the rich person's survival facility. So again, in your training, we cover all the different options and point out to you why Fortitude Ranch is the best. So if you remember those 11 survival requirements listed earlier, here they are again, and now we're rating how your different alternatives meet those requirements. On the left, the worst place to be is pretty obviously a big city. You're in major trouble trying to survive in a big city. On the far right is Survival Condo, and left from there, Mount Weather, and then you see Fortitude Ranch over there. That last thing we've after 11 is affordability, and no one comes close to us in affordability. So we provide everything you need to meet the 11 requirements at a survival cost, and no one comes close to us in providing our level of security at an affordable price. Unless you can get elected to Congress or be a governor and have protection provided for you for free, you really need to have something like Fortitude Ranch. So we can go outside our compound during the day if there's no big marauder fit around. We can hunt, fish, gather firewood, and we're going to have pretty good quality of life. But as I mentioned, at night, our members, our livestock will be inside our fortification walls. We have a large guard force that'll be behind those walls and on duty and facing a large fort, well guarded with no easy means of sneaking up close. Marauder groups are going to go after the easier targets. It's likely, we think, that in a collapse, we will never have to fight off a marauder group. We think they'll go after the easier targets. So the standard approach of going underground with blast doors and air filters is not just a worst approach for survival. It's many, many more times more expensive and yet you still find preppers to a large degree relying on deep underground shelters. Another key difference and great advantage in selling Fortitude Ranch is that we're not just a survival community. We're a place in good times for you to recreate and vacation. You can stay at any Fortitude Ranch location, not just your home fort, but any of our locations for free. We have common areas you can use. You can either stay in your room if you're a member, or you can stay in a shared room that we have for visitors, and you can have a great time hiking on our site. A lot of people like to play with our guard dogs. That's Ringo there at West Virginia, who's by far our most popular staff member. And then there's a lot of fun things to do in the area. We're near really great vacation sites. In Colorado, for example, we're just an hour from the Great Sand Dunes, the largest sand dunes in the world, a beautiful park there to go to. So that's another great benefit that we offer to our members is you can vacation there, not just at Fortitude Ranch, your home fort, but any location of Fortitude Ranch. And again, this makes it harder for people to compete with us because as we have dozens of locations you can vacation at, if someone wants to copy us and start up, a location in Delaware where people can join, well, that's great if all you want to see is Delaware. And it's not so great if you happen to be in California when a pandemic starts, airlines shut down, and you can't get across the US. If you're a Fortitude Ranch member, you go to Fortitude Ranch, Nevada. They'll take care of you. But if you're trying to get back to just the one location you join, you're in tough position. So we think just a fantastic value proposition for our members. And as I said, no one else today comes close to matching this value. No one else can come close to giving us the survival opportunities we give you. So if you try to prep and prepare on your own, it's not affordable and you're just not going to have the odds of survival that we've got. You can't keep the large number of people needed for security and sharing these costs together in a volunteer basis. There's just too many hundreds, thousands of decisions to make, and you can't get a large group of volunteers to agree on something like that. And we knew this. This is why Fortitude Ranch was founded. We knew you needed a survival community, but we studied survival communities and we found out if they can get formed at all, they last for a year or two and then they fall apart. And I've really learned it since then because I get a lot of emails from people who had a survival community, it's failed, and someone signed the mortgage for the house or the property they bought, and they're on the hook now to pay off the mortgage. Their survival community volunteer group is gone, and they're desperate to sell to us because unfortunately their survival group has fallen apart. So again, Fortitude Ranch membership offers survival, recreational, and peace of mind advantages. We like to use the term it's real life insurance, not a payment if you die, but an insurance to help keep you alive. And again, in sales training, we will teach you all the benefits and the angles of selling Fortitude Ranch memberships, such as this peace of mind insurance angle. Another big thing we offer is the shooting ranges at all of our locations. Most of our members, frankly, don't do a lot of vacationing now because most of our members tend to be busy professionals and not a lot of vacation time. But we're getting a lot of activity nonetheless for people using our shooting ranges. They really like that, and it's something we're able to provide. And the other big advantage we find with the recreational benefits comes down to the selling process. Usually if a couple comes out, most of the time, one of them is interested in preparing, the other is not. So for the spouse that's not interested in prepping, we stress the recreational advantages. For example, if you want to spend time and rent a vacation cabin in Colorado in the summer, you're going to spend more to rent that vacation cabin for your vacation than you would for your Fortitude Ranch membership costs that year. So we stress things like that, and we can usually get the spouse who's not a prepper to agree that yes, it's worth joining because of the vacation advantages. It's almost like we invented the term survival community on Google. When I type in survival communities, you can see here, we pop up as the first and then the next entries. And this is because of the huge media coverage we've had for years. And our lead continues to grow because when a media person wants to talk to someone from a survival community, or they want to talk about collapse, they type in those words. Who pops up? We do. So who do they call? Especially when they see that we're on Fox, CBS, ABC, NBC, Washington Post, all the different media, they call us up. And so we get media calls all the time. We do interviews a lot, both myself and my COO. I'll show you some of these here in a few minutes. And we get fantastic media coverage, which means we get great search engine ratings, because that's what the search engine's value is. Do you have legitimacy? And when you're covered by major media, you get legitimacy. People generally don't trust advertisements. So if we were trying to run ads, we would spend millions of dollars and not have the benefit that we get from all the media coverage we've got and our internet presence. And this is a big advantage of a first mover in the new industry. You can define the terms and the standards and dominate search engines and the media. Someone trying to start up their own survival business is not going to get the media coverage we generate, and people aren't going to find them on the internet like they find us. The other reason we have this great search engine ranking is that we've got this legitimate coverage over 10 years. We've had it for a long time now, and that also helps us in our rankings. You could spend, again, millions of advertising on a new survival community, and you won't come close to us in getting the kind of internet coverage we've got that gives us all these sales leads we get every day. So as I mentioned, we get fantastic media coverage, which has the two payoffs for us. First, it generates those new member leads when the media shows, but again, they put their story on the internet when they're done. So when the search engines link to that and people Google, they find us via that. And again, we get new leads every day, and then people look at the media coverage. This is a Forbes article that was on us a couple of years ago. And so we get website traffic. Once you're on our website, they're going to want to download something. They're going to want to sign up for our newsletter. And when we do this, now I've got their name, I've got their email address, and I know what state they're in. And that's why when you become a Fortitude Ranch franchise, we can tell you of our 5,000 plus members we've got, so not members, but contacts we've got so far, we can tell you, hey, these are 100 people who are within 60 miles of you, that kind of thing, or in states near you. And our coverage is not just conservative media. It's not just Fox News or prepper bloggers who cover us. We get favorable media coverage from everywhere. We've been in the Washington Post and CBS and National Public Radio. And I can't recall us ever getting any negative press piece. Reporters are impressed with us when they interview. And again, since we have so much media coverage, we've already got trust from the media when they contact us, because they've already looked to see that, oh my God, these people have been covered a lot. They look very impressive. They look very legitimate. So we get tons of absolutely free media coverage, and it's more valuable than millions of dollars in ad spending. We find actually, though, that we are getting more and more of our leads from the prepper and libertarian bloggers and podcasters who have fallen in love with Fortitude Ranch and promote us on their sites. Brighteon is a conservative alternative to YouTube. Now, we've had great coverage there on several podcasts. Tim Pool is a former media reporter who started his own news podcast, and he's evolved into being a very libertarian person with a huge million-plus audience of libertarians who tend to be ideal members and staff for Fortitude Ranch. Tim Pool had Steve Renee, that's the lower right-hand corner, he's our COO, on his show, and it was just a huge success for us. Tim was so impressed with Steve and Fortitude Ranch that he not only joined, he invested in the company, and he continues to plug us on his show. And we've used him also many times to appeal for staff as we open up new locations. Many of our ranch managers we've gotten for free from Tim Pool shouting us out on his show. So his endorsements, again, are worth millions of dollars in media advertising for us. And a personal endorsement from him to his audience is that's such a great fit for us, is worth, again, more than millions and millions of advertising dollars could ever try to buy us. So people are trusting their lives to you if they join your survival community. So our media coverage and internet presence, dozens of interviews and reports gives us credibility. Many years of operation gives us great credibility. But the thing that really makes it great for us is our staff. When they look at our staff, they go, oh my God, they've got all these former military people. They've got engineers. They've got that's a chem bionuclear officer up there who's on our staff. And so that also really impresses people. And that's another reason why we get so many people joining us. Sometimes we get members who will now join us without even doing a tour, because they have such confidence seeing such information on us that these guys are legit. These guys are professional. They're the industry leaders. I want to go there. And so they join us. As a franchisee, as part of the Fortitude Ranch system, you will have great credibility from the very get-go because you're part of Fortitude Ranch. And without this credibility and trust, it's very difficult to sell memberships. When we first started out with just West Virginia, it was hard to get sales. Nowadays, as I said, people will join us without even doing a tour because they have such trust in Fortitude Ranch. Our brand is well recognized and respected. So when you open your location as a franchisee, you'll have all the Fortitude Ranch branding behind you, the training and expertise. You'll have a respected ranch manager, and you'll have the trust. And we can provide you, as I mentioned, also the sales leads. Probably every week we'll be getting new leads for you. And at the start, we should have 100 or more for you from our current database. So Fortitude Ranch, as I mentioned, is probably the largest leading survival community in the world. If there's someone bigger than us, they've done a really good job of keeping secret. While we don't advertise our locations, we do promote Fortitude Ranch in the media, and we require that they not give out our specific location. Now, we stress to our members that there is no way you can hide out in a collapse. If you're alive, sooner or later, you're going to run a generator, you're going to make some smoke, you will be found. So you can't rely on secrecy for survival, but you need to be able to defend yourself. So although we do keep our location secret and confidential, that has nothing to do with security. It's not going to provide you security. You have to be able to defend yourself. Our brand names and the publicity we get is the key to our sales lead and our business success. We're going to keep developing new products and services that leverage the Fortitude Ranch name and our logo, which is very popular. And I'll cover some of these here later in the briefing. So now I want to get into some of the franchisee terms. As a Fortitude Ranch franchisee, you will have the power of our recognized brand and all of our internet presence and media coverage behind you. And it'll be a lot easier for you to sell memberships and become a profitable business. Our franchise fees are fairly low because we want to have our franchisees operate profitably long-term. Our franchise fees are about what you'd pay for a KOA campground, less than a Burger King or McDonald's. And unlike most franchisees, we do not require that you make marketing payments, nor do we have any requirements that you have to buy your supplies through us or anything like that. We do negotiate some group buys, but we'll never force you to buy something from us or a vendor we pick. We have an extensive training areas listed here. I'll give you more details on those later. Where we're going to make our money is through sales royalties. So when you make more money, we make more money. If you have a period of several months where you're just not making sales, that's okay. You'll have no payments to make for us. Again, there is no marketing. There is no monthly fee you pay to continue being a franchisee. We do teach you how to do sales, but I suspect for most of our franchisees, you're probably going to have most of your sales lead, and you'll probably end up using our sales force to make most of your sales. It's not a requirement. It's up to you, but we think this is a great benefit we can provide. We sell memberships for 5, 10, 25, and 50 years. Your initial franchise agreement will be for 12 years, and we restrict you at first to selling 5 and 10-year memberships. And I'll cover this in more detail later. But when you make an additional payment term, and you can sell 25-year longer-term memberships, which give you more upfront money. So many franchisees are for really short terms, a period, and you have to pay a renewed franchise fee for KOA, it's every couple of years you have to repay this franchise fee. We're offering 12 and then 25-year franchise agreements because we want you to be around long term. And in addition to protecting you from paying that fee over and over again several years, our franchises will probably go up in the future, but if you join now, you'll be protected. You'll be in at a lower rate.
Okay.
And if you've researched franchise businesses, you've likely read the majority of business startups fail. They run into some anticipated problem and they get killed off. With the proven business franchise system, your likelihood of success is higher, though there frankly is not a lot of reliable data on how much higher the probability of success is. We do know of no incident where anyone has ever toured a Fortitude Ranch facility and declined to join us in favor of a competitor or decided to install their own private shelter. Again, we have no competitors now, and we're confident that we can beat copycat competitors in the future by exploiting our advantages of our huge media coverage, our respect from operating for years, and the fact that we've got a lot of locations, which you would not have starting up with a single location. We cannot and will not try to estimate what kind of financial returns you're going to make. We can't do that. We can't even help you do that because of the threat of lawsuits, as I'll explain earlier. The franchise disclosure laws make it very dangerous for a franchisor to help you estimate your financials, because if you don't make them, you'll end up with the lawyer who will sue us. And so we don't help you estimate your financials, but we'll give you some information later on how you can do that on your own or get some assistance doing that. We're really a different kind of a franchise operation because while you're definitely running your own independent business and you're rarely going to see anyone from the corporate staff at your location, the memberships you sell are not just to your location. They are members of Fortitude Ranch, the system, with identical rights to all the other Fortitude Ranch members, whether their home fort is your franchise location or a corporate run location. The Fortitude Ranch membership agreement you have your new members sign is the same one everyone else does, and it makes you a member of the whole system. So if you fail as a franchise, Brandon, if you could mute your iPad there, we're starting to hear a little bit. So if you fail as a franchise and go out of business, that's
because it's a franchise presentation.
Yeah, if you could mute Brandy, we're going to go over questions at the end, but if you can find the mute button, we're hearing some noise on your end, sorry. So if you fail as a franchise and go out of business, the problem we face is your members are still our members. We have to house them and put them in a new location. And so that's why we are very interested in making sure that you are successful and don't fail. That's what we want you to do. A long-term franchise agreement with us. That's what we want you to be profitable and stay in business. The other way we can help you do this is by Pioneer memberships, which I'll explain a little bit earlier. Even before you're operational, you can start selling Pioneer memberships that let you sell rooms before they're actually even built out. And again, I'll go through that later on. But overall, we want to be 90% confident that you're going to succeed, or we're not going to approve your franchisee obligation, because we don't want you to get started and then fail. It's bad for you and bad for us. So because of the strong mutual interest in your business success, we are going to dig into the details of your operation, your staff, and we won't approve your application unless we're pretty confident you're going to have a good chance of success. So the owner's management is obviously critical and a big part of our training, but the ranch manager is even more important to your success, especially in a collapse. So we have first of all, we have requirements that your ranch manager must either be former military or have some law enforcement officer experience. And we'll spend a lot of time with your proposed ranch manager. And if for some reason we just don't think they're the right person for the job, we'll talk to you as the owner and even help you find someone we think would do a better job. If you have to do retraining for a ranch manager, we won't charge you for this. Another part of our support for you is inspection and help with your facility before you open and on your opening day. We'll have someone there to help you with tours, answering questions you're not comfortable with yet, and making sure you get a really good start. And as the last bullet on here is, again, courtesy of bad lawyers who make a dirty living out of suing franchisors, we do not guarantee your financial success. We're adding a lot of new products. Our traditional rooms that we've been selling have been rooms inside one of our buildings, Spartan, economy, or luxury. And we're finding more and more people want more privacy, more luxury rooms. So we're going to add new brands and new lines of business, such as Fortitude, which we're rolling out here in the next month. And it has a lot of advantages besides a better housing option that some people may prefer. There's zoning restrictions in some areas, even rural areas, that restrict the number of buildings you can put up. So with Fortitude, the idea is when a member purchases a Fortitude, we buy the materials, we level a building pad, we place them there, but we do not erect the building, the cabin, until there's a collapse. It's a specially designed building that can get put up very, very quickly in less than a day for us with help from our members. And it's not just the traditional log building, it's wood, metal layered on the outer two walls to be basically provide great bullet protection. And as the slide explains, this lets someone buy a very private accommodation at Fortitude Ranch, which we're finding more and more people would like to have. So for the business to be profitable, it's nice to have something like this where you don't make any investment. The member pays up front, and you just now, after they've made this big payment, go out and spend a small part of that on materials and have a nice profit from this new housing operation. The other thing we're going to be offering that may fit depending on your zoning is Fortitude condos. And again, I'm not going to go through the slides on this. I can send you the deck. I want to have more time for questions, but basically the idea of Fortitude condos is more people want to live full time. They want to get out of the cities, and they like, hey, why can't we live here at Fortitude Ranch? Well, with Fortitude condos, there'll be more housing for people to do that. And we've gone through the financials on it. If you put up a big one like this with 2 underground stories and 2 above, some nice survival facilities, we estimate that you can house several hundred people in one of these buildings, and it'd be a fairly big investment if you built one this big, but the return on investment would be pretty fantastic. We estimated 250%. The reason is we can build a condo at a small fraction of the cost of what you would in a city. We don't have expensive land. We wouldn't have the urban building codes and inspection requirements that add a lot to costs. And because we're offering you not just a nice place to stay and to live, but a fantastic survival facility. The Fortitude condo is located inside the Fortitude Ranch compound. We would sell this for more than you would pay for a big city condo. So that's an option that we're going to be developing. Another thing that we have started implementing is leasing land for a private home that a member can build, again, at their expense, but they make an upfront payment to us. They join with a land lease and some Fortitude Ranch memberships. And again, this is a nice thing that depending on your land availability and zoning restriction, may let you add more buildings to your property that you don't have to pay for. You just collect membership revenues and lease payments from them. We've done this at our Fortitude Ranch location, and we'll work with you as a franchisee to see if this might be something you can do to add a really nice, profitable extra part of your business with no upfront investment cost. Another option is allowing people to put container homes on your property, again, subject to zoning restrictions you may have. These are popular. If you do them, we usually recommend you put 1 underground and 1 above ground on top of that. The other thing we're looking into, and we've trademarked this, is Fortitude Village. Again, you've heard about the exodus of people wanting to live cities and move to more rural locations, and they also want to be safe. So we're looking at having even a housing area, not just 1 or 2 leased acres, but a big housing area that would be co-located with a Fortitude Ranch facility and provide a Fortitude Village option. So if you do not already have a property, then I highly encourage you to find an RV or resort operation in the area that might be interested in partnering with you and adding a Fortitude Ranch operation to their facility. They'd keep their current business, but they'd add this as a new line of business. Another option is find a survival community that has launched and failed or is struggling now to make it, and see if they want to partner with you, become a Fortitude Ranch franchisee, and probably have a lot more sales, a lot better run facility, and the chance to make it into a profitable, successful business. The cost to open a Fortitude Ranch location with an initial membership capacity of 100 is anywhere from $500,000 to $1 million. But if you can get someone who partners with you and has the land and some existing facilities, you might be able to cut that investment in half. The Fortitude Ranch business would greatly improve the profitability of an RV park or resort, and it would greatly reduce your investment cost to open up a Fortitude Ranch. Our Fortitude Ranch, Wisconsin location actually is a former RV park. That was there. They went out of business. We bought them and converted it to a Fortitude Ranch facility. Okay, again, I just have to harp on this, but due to the regulations on franchisees, and there's a whole slew of lawyers out there whose whole business is suing franchisors. So most franchisors will help people estimate their profitability. And when franchisees don't make the profit that they saw in the projections, they hire the lawyers and they sue the franchisor. So we have decided we are not going to help you estimate your financials. I personally would like to, I'm obviously qualified to, but we just can't because of the regulations and because of the lawsuits. So we ask you not to ask for our help in financial results, but we are going to tell you on this slide, well, what can you do? What I would recommend you do is find some business people, especially small business folks you know, talk to them, ask if they'd be willing to help you estimate your likely earnings. They're called pro forma financial estimates, and ask for their help. The financial franchise disclosure document you can provide is going to give you a lot of good cost data. You can go to our website. You can see what do we charge for membership, so you can get that information. And I can provide you some basic cost or sales information. I just can't help you develop your financials. The Small Business Administration runs SCORE. That's a volunteer network of experienced business people who volunteer their time to help business startups. So you could probably find a SCORE volunteer who might help you. And of course, there's consultants who do this as well. We've given you the contact information here for a guy I know who's qualified, and he does a flat fee for pro forma financials of $1,000. I realize it's kind of risky when you hire a lawyer, a consultant on an hourly basis. You know, they may end up going off and spending a lot more time than you want. This guy will do it for a fixed flat fee. So again, we're not going to approve your application unless we're confident you're going to be successful. I mentioned these points here. I do want to give you some other options though. If you're just not sure of can you raise the money, not sure of what kind of financial returns you can get, what you could do is you could apply for franchisees, or you could just sign up now to do some initial training. And I'll go through a little bit of that later and gain some more information. I really want to stress to you that probably the biggest problem for you is going to be lining up the financing you need. And you should have financing to not just build your suitable facility, but you want to be able to operate for at least a year, assuming that you don't have enough sales to generate a profit. You don't want to assume you're going to be profitable from the get-go. You might be, but you can't assume that. It's best to have the funds to assume you're not going to initially have as good as sales as you'd expect. And I covered this earlier, but let me go through a little more details here, and you'll have the slide if you want to request them. The initial franchise agreement is for 12 years. It's not a 2 or 3 year thing. It's 12 years, but it limits you to 5 or 10 year memberships. We have to do this because we can't have a franchisee sign up 25, 50 year members, make a ton of money, then quit in 3 years. And now I'm saddled with finding a new home for someone who's got a 25 or 50 year membership. But after 6 months, if you're operating well, and we're still confident that you're going to be a great franchisee, you can pay a $25,000 fee and extend from 12 years to 25 years. And you can now sell 25-year memberships, which give you a lot more upfront payment. And frankly, you can use these membership payments, upfront payments, to help fund a lot of your growth. We offer Pioneer memberships that I'll cover again in the next slide, where they pay you before their room is actually done. We've been doing that for all of our locations since we opened in West Virginia. You can't sell for less than our membership price. You can get approval from us, most likely, to sell at a higher price if you've got a nicer room or have some justification for a higher price membership. So overall, trying to form a survival community on your own is probably an almost hopeless task if you try to do it on a volunteer basis. You're going to end up in endless arguments, and the group will probably end up falling apart. And you'll have a much harder time convincing people to join than if you're part of something like a Fortitude Ranch system that's all over the media and the internet, has years of successful operation, and an operations manual and system that is proven and works well. We also manage the accounting and the billing for your Fortitude Ranch memberships. We process the initial membership, collect the fees, take out any sales commissions and royalties owed, and send the balance to you. Plus, we do the quarterly billing, the quarterly invoicing. We collect the quarterly dues and the annual food restocking fees and send that money on to you. So you do still need your own business accounting and payroll systems. And we do offer some optional training if you want to learn how we use QuickBooks, the most widely used business accounting system. But the membership billing, which can be the most difficult, and it's the key to making your money, we handle that for you. As you probably know, the leading profession of elected officials is lawyers. especially in the Democratic Party. There's lots of elected officials in Congress and at the state levels that are attorneys. And so they make laws, frankly, to promote business for law firms. And that's exactly what they did with the franchise laws. So this franchise disclosure document that we will send you is blatantly designed to promote lawsuits and to promote work for lawyers. I actually have to put statements in there, some of them in bold, recommending that you hire a lawyer. I mean, it's incredible, but that's the law. Lawyers passed it, so it's in there. So that's franchise thing is there. And because of the risk from lawyers who sue franchisors again, we can't help you estimate your financials. We do offer you a protected territory in your initial years as a franchisee, although frankly, I don't really think you're going to need this, but it's a common practice with franchising. And so we agreed to do this. So in the example here, this is a franchisee starting in Northwest Pennsylvania. And I want you to note the word in the agreement, we will not approve a new Fortitude Ranch location anywhere within 200 miles of you the first year. But in this case, Fortitude Ranch, West Virginia is an existing Fortitude Ranch location. It's 130 miles away. So you may open a location that already has a Fortitude Ranch location in your protected area. We just won't open new areas for the several years of the 3 years you can see there within your location. Within the duration of your agreement, nothing within 50 miles. But you really aren't going to need this because even if your facility is huge growth, I doubt you're ever going to go above 500 members. And there's so many people within 50 miles of you anywhere you go in the US, unless it's a really remote area, you're going to find that you and two other locations wouldn't be able to shelter 1% of the population. So your franchise fee covers an extensive training program. There's a lot of details on this in the franchise disclosure document. I'm just going to give you a quick overview of it on this slide and some of the following slides. And this information on the training we give you is not something you could find just by Googling. A lot of it is based on our experience of building and running Fortitude Ranch locations for a decade now. We have done a lot of experimentation, lots of changes, lots of building designs, lots of membership policy changes. And we've got a system we think is really, really top notch and is working really well for us. So anyone can build a building, and for a survival community, though, you've got a lot of special features you want to do. And we'll train you on what those special features are, and we'll show you our designs and then help you design your facility based on your terrain and your budget and the other unique factors you've got. You do need to have a lot of room for members at an affordable price. That's the real key to having a profitable business. And that's something we've been working on, as I said, for 10 years. What you see here is the building that we've come up with as our favorite design right now. And it's unusual looking, but it looks like this for a lot of good reasons. First of all, there is a full-length basement under both of those log homes and the metal building. It's over 100 feet long. That basement is nice and cool, even in the Nevada desert. So it's a great place to store food. It's a nice place to be in the summer, to be down there. And most importantly, if there is a lot of fallout, it provides radiation shielding for us. The log homes on the end are fantastic for several reasons. First of all, logs stop bullets pretty well. A framed house, bullet will go in one side, out the other, and if you're in between, bad for you. So logs are great at stopping bullets. We will put guard posts on those decks with shields and a collapse. A lot of our buildings and a lot of our features are dual purpose. They look like this in peacetime, but we can quickly convert them to a guard post in a bad time. That's what those upper decks are for. If you notice, there's not a lot of windows on the side you're looking at the ground level. There's a good reason for that. You're looking at this building from the bad guy's side. The windows and doors, they're on the good guy, inside the walls on the other end. Walls will go up, and this building is part of the outer wall, the defensive compound there. So in your training, in your design and construction training and consulting, we go over how to do this. And at a price for building, with a lot of the tricks we'll teach you, you can do this much, much less expensively. So we tell you all kinds of things, not just building, but how do you build an operating table at very low cost for your medical clinic? We'll show you how to do that. All kinds of building and special survival features. We train you on how to do them. You'll save a fortune and you'll have a really nicer facility by using the techniques we've used and developed. So this is something you would never guess, but really when it comes down to it in peacetime, Fortitude Ranch is really a construction company. For our staff, I would say 80% of our time is spent building. Now you could contract out all your building, but you would pay a lot more per square footage to do that. And it makes more sense to use your branch manager and other staff as your building staff. And again, we'll go over that in owner training for you in design and construction training. But this is a key point for you, I'm telling you now, because if you're trying to get investors, this is a fantastic point to tell them. The money you put in your Fortitude Ranch franchisee does not go into marketing. It does not go into research and development. It does not go into overhead expenses. It goes into building. So you're building, you're buying land, you're building buildings that are you're building at much lower cost than if you were contract for them. So let's say in 5-10 years, a law is passed outlawing survival communities, or perpetual peace breaks out all over the world, and there's no chance of a collapse. You could sell your Fortitude Ranch facility at a lot more than you paid to build it. So that is a huge advantage for you in recruiting investors. You set what you want to pay for your staff, but I can tell you that our ranch managers earn about $25,000 to $30,000 a year, and they spend 80% of their time building, and most of them work a lot more than 40 hours a week. So I could not build what we built at anywhere near the cost I paid to have our staff and myself do it. Our ranch managers live on site, so that's a big benefit for them. They love the survival business. They're former military. They love the weapons and the shooting. And they are happy to work at this wage. And for the business, it's just a fantastic return on investment for us. Okay, your franchise fee again covers how to design your facility, and we're going to share all the techniques. I've shown you just a couple of them here. We're going to teach you how to build log homes. As I said, they're great at stopping bullets. They really look nice for the mountain forest locations we tend to use, and they're great for luxury rooms. People love our luxury rooms, which we normally put in our log buildings. And there's a lot of really neat tricks I'll show you on how to build log homes. I built, dozens of log homes. Our staff has built a lot of them. We'll show you the tricks on how to, again, do it yourself, saving a fortune over what you would pay a general contractor to build you a log home. So, as I said, we built over a lot of log homes. Your training is in Fortitude Ranch, Texas. That building on the right you see there, that is the tallest freestanding log home in the world. It's 5 stories tall. We built it. It's a pretty cool building, and you'll get to see that, and we'll go over all the tricks on doing that. We're also going to show you how to do solar systems, aquaponics systems, set up medical clinics. And we'll show you not just how to do it, but how to do it in a cost-effective way so you can make your facility affordable for the middle class and give yourself a profit margin to stay in business. Again, we're not going to require that you buy a specific weapon or system, but we are going to give you a lot of recommendations that we think you ought to buy this brand of 50 caliber rifle, this ham radio. We may negotiate a group buy. It's up to you if you do or don't do it. An advantage of using the same thing we've got is that in a collapse, we're going to be up probably every night at set frequencies, which we know on the ham radio, high frequency. And so when you've got a trouble like, hey, I'm having trouble with one of my batteries, I'm getting this kind of fault error on it. If you ask on the radio grid, when we're in a collapse situation, you can't get a repairman out to help you, can't search the internet, we can help you because we've got the same system at another Fortitude Ranch location. So I'm not going to go through the details on this, obviously, but I just want to kind of flip through. This is the list of Fortitude Ranch owner training topics. It's huge, and it gives you the specifics on managing the business. And it's also, frankly, it's a general course on managing a small business. I spent several decades as a management consultant, and I give you a lot of that expertise and training in the course. Again, we want you to be successful, stay in your business, be profitable, and make it long-term. We also know you're going to have a lot of difficult decisions to make, things like prioritizing, what do I build next? I've got another $25,000. Where should I put it? I've got more weapons I can buy, supplies, I could start another building. Difficult decisions. So We are going to give you the software and teach you this multi-criteria decision analysis tool. Runs in Excel. I use it all the time. It is fantastic. It helps you make intelligent decisions considering all the alternatives, all the criteria, and help you come up with the best solution to do. The ranch manager training is also highly extensive. I'm not going to try to list all and it takes a full week for the ranch manager training at Fortitude Ranch, Texas. After that, we give you an option. It's optional. But we highly recommend you now send your ranch manager off to a week of on-the-job training at a different Fortitude Ranch location where he or she will work with one of our ranch managers, pick up a lot of skills, building primarily, but also animal care, firing range issues. They may get to see how a tour is done. Just a lot of great training. And we go through our operations manual during the ranch manager training. It's over 100 pages. Again, it's not information you just get Googling on it or reading through Army manuals. It's stuff we've developed because you have to adapt stuff. Yes, we use a lot of military principles, but they're dramatically different when you're dealing with a bunch of civilians and you're defending yourself, not doing a mobile Army type action. So we have all kinds of great ideas and policies that we've developed and used, and we'll give them to you in our operating manual, which is confidential. And as we'll explain, and it's in the franchise agreement, big penalties if you are to release this manual. We want to keep it very confidential. And we provide you a lot of ongoing help, and we're glad to do that because, again, we want you to succeed. You'll be part of our regular staff meetings, and you can always ask myself or COO, other ranch managers for ideas and suggestions. And of course, we're going to provide you all kinds of sales and marketing materials and assistance. You can also use our sales staff. We absolutely encourage you to use your own sales staff. You know, take advantage of your local contacts in your local area, do sales locally. But frankly, I think you're going to get most of your leads from our national internet media that we pick up, the hits we get on our website. We will pass them on to you. And if you want, you can use our national sales force. They can take your leads with your approval and schedule a tour, answer their questions, try to sign them up for your location. Again, that's up to you. And we'll go over this in great deal in the owner training. If there's a tour that needs to be done, historically, we've paid our ranch manager a 5% sales commission if they join to do the tour. There's no sales commission on quarterly dues or annual food restocking fees. So once someone has joined, they're your member. There is no sales commission you have to pay. There are royalty fees we detail in some of the slides and lay out in our franchise agreement. It's a 10% royalty fee on new members who come to your home fort. After that, there's a 50% royalty on quarterly dues. There's no royalty on the annual food restocking fees. They go straight to you. Okay, Pioneer memberships I've mentioned a couple times. It is a great deal for a startup location. You need to have at least 50 people. Can't be operational. When you start up, you need to have some buildings to show, but you can't really probably have starting up and have 100 spaces for new memberships. So what we would recommend you do is what we call Pioneer membership. We lay out to members that, hey, we're not operational yet, but you can join now. You pay your upfront fee, but your membership clock will not start until our facility is declared operational. So they get to join now. They're Fortitude Ranch members. They can vacationing, and you get money now to help fund your build out and your expansion of your facility. There's all kinds of other businesses that you could add to your operation. Survival storage facilities. You could add an RV park. You could do a public shooting range if you want to, if you're willing to deal with the regulations on all that. And we'll go over all these opportunities in our owner training. We also have a Fortitude membership token. The company corporate owns them. You would not own them as a franchisee, but you can get a sales commission selling them. We'll go over all this in the training. I'm just going to skip through these slides quickly. It's a utility token. It's a cryptocurrency token that runs on the Ethereum blockchain, but it's not like Bitcoin that has no intrinsic value. Our Fortitude token is used to buy membership in Fortitude Ranch. And when there's a crisis, we are only going to allow people to join with tokens. The idea with the token is if you pay for a token, you have priority to join over people paying cash to join. So the value of our tokens will be huge when there's a collapse and all of a sudden hundreds of thousands or millions of people want to join. We're going to tell people, a big banner goes up on our website, we're only accepting Fortitude tokens for payment now. How do you get them? You can buy them on a website that trades them, or you can buy them from us. And the price of our tokens, I can tell you, is going to go way up. It's a big earnings opportunity for us. We estimate we'll make $8 million just from our token sales in a collapse, although we have less. So your business is going to face a lot of risks. I list them for you here. And again, don't sue us if things don't work out for you. There is risks of regulatory lawsuits are the worst thing. An important thing to know is that our membership agreement, it's on our website. I encourage you to read it if you haven't already. We have a liability release. You cannot be a member of Fortitude Ranch without signing in your membership agreement. I understand there's risks from hiking and snakes and all kinds of things, and I agree not to sue you for any accident that happens to me. So it doesn't guarantee you can't be sued, but it is a big help. We do require that you have liability insurance, and we'll cover that in a second. As I said, we're eventually going to have copycat competitors, but I'm not worried about them. I actually would like to see more competitors, because the more people there are out there selling our kind of facility, the more credibility we have. They may interest people in joining a survival community, and when they do the research and they find us, they're going to join Fortitude Ranch with dozens of locations, 10 years of operations, not some copycat startup. So we're not worried about copycat competitors, but it is something that can happen. When you become a franchisee and you're ready to open your location, we'll announce it in our newsletter that goes out to about 5,000 people. And we hope to get a lot of people to show up. And I would guess we'll probably have about 100 leads for the typical location that opens. And a lot of those people will join for you. And again, some will join without even asking for a tour. Some will want to come out. You can offer them Pioneer memberships to get the money up front earlier. I do recommend you consider putting together a group, and unless you're fabulously wealthy and have $1 million or $500,000, I would recommend you probably want to put together a group. An LLC is the main form of company that's used today. And as I mentioned earlier, go to an RV resort or a rancher that's got good land, or a prepper, the group that's faltering, and see if they've already got land and some of the facility you need. Partner with them, and you could save hundreds of thousands, plus accelerate your speed starting up. You're going to want to go to wealthy people you know who may be interested. We can give you briefings, help you doing that. And if you want to, you can even sign up for some training now before you apply to be a franchisee to get more information, build a more impressive business proposal to recruit people into your business. When you're talking to investors, it's important for you to emphasize that we are a great hedge investment. If someone invests in a normal company, when there's an electric grid is threatened, when the people are scared to death of a new avian flu pandemic, when the stock market is crashing, those are bad times for most businesses. It's great for us. We're an anti-fragile business, a term that Nassim Taleb, the author of The Black Swan, the impact of the highly improbable, developed, meaning that when things get bad, they're actually good for us. Our profit is better when there's bad things happening in the world. For example, during COVID and all the unrest 2 years ago, fantastic for us. We've had great business from that. So for an investor, some rich guy's got stock, has bonds, all that's going to go down the tubes when there's a disaster. He should have an investment like Fortitude Ranch that goes up when this shit hits the fan and all his businesses fail. We are applying to the Small Business Administration to be in their franchise directory, which simplifies and speeds up the loan application if you want to pursue an SBA loan. And we're working with the bank as well. Currently, they're doing about 8% interest rates. I see a lot of people saying that we're looking at double-digit inflation coming for the next several years. So locking in a single-digit loan could be a good value for you. I do want to emphasize that I recommend that you have a lot more financing than you think you're going to need. It's better to have too much money when you start a business, not enough. We are working to set up a company-wide general liability insurance policy that all franchisees can get. It's hard getting insurance in our business because there is no industry code for us. the survival industry exists, but there's not a data on it. We've been working with the company and hope to pretty soon have a policy that's completely your option, but you do need liability insurance. So we're working to find a place where you can get a policy and hopefully at a lot lower cost. So we recommend that, you really think it over carefully. Don't start this business unless you're really committed to prepping and the survival, because it's not a 9-to-5 job. You got to be there every day. And when the shit hits the fan, and we go, of course, all of this in training, but you as staff have the worst jobs. You've got dead body disposal. You've got to tell the beggar at the gate with the starving kid that, no, you cannot have a scrap of food. They have to leave or you're going to get shot. Now, we cover in training ways to do this as humanely and comfortably as possible, but there's some really shitty things you're going to have to do in a collapse. And unless you're committed to that, you don't want to sign up to be with Fortitude Ranch. If you want to contract with us for help in finding land, we can do that. We don't help you with the land search as part of our construction training and coaching. We assume you've got land when we're doing that. But if you don't have land yet, and you can't find an RV park or someone to partner with, you can hire us to help you do land search, and we've done hundreds of them. You can also sign up to do owner training as well as this design and construction training and coaching without paying the franchise application fee. If you want to get some more information to help you develop better financials, which you may need to get investment partners, and to better understand the business before you commit to it. We do not give you ranch manager training. You won't get our operations manual until you have signed the franchise agreement and we've initially vetted you and accepted you that, yeah, we think you're going to work out. So if you want any more details on that, I'd be glad to schedule time to go through this by phone with you. We are going to give a discount to our first 2 franchise applications. It's always hard to be the first. We recognize that. So we're giving 50% off the first, 25% off the second applicant who comes through the process. By law, we cannot accept the franchise application until you have not just received our franchise disclosure document, which you have to request from us, but part of it is there's a written receipt. You have to send us in this written receipt that you got the document. Then we have to wait 14 days. After 14 days, if you want to sign up to become a franchise, we can accept your application. And again, all kinds of regulatory nonsense in there. A lot of it we had to put in. But it's law, it's our legal system, and we are going to require in our agreement mandatory binding arbitration. We don't want to be in a lawsuit where we're forced to pay a lawyer. I'm not a fan of lawyers, as you may have picked up. So we have mandatory binding arbitration, and it's good for you as well. I mean, if you decide that, hey, Fortitude Ranch has been treating me badly, I want to sue them, you'd be much better off in arbitration and not having to pay a huge attorney fees to settle a dispute that we can't, I hope, settle on our own. So way ahead, if you're interested in more on franchisee, is request the franchise disclosure document from us. My email address is up there. I'm glad to talk with you beforehand as well. If you don't have land yet and you want to hire us to find your land first, we normally charge about $2,500 to do that. You can apply for some training without doing the application, the design, construction, consulting, and then the owner training. If you want to do that, which would help you develop better financial estimates, get a much better feel for what kind of money are you likely to make, how would the business aspect of it work. If you want to do that, again, we should talk about that as well. But when you're ready, you submit the franchise application with the $10,000 payment, and you're good to go. So I'm going to stop.